depending on your time zone, trust you're getting it well. We're here to discuss, of course, the latest happenings as it borders on the Nigerian social political sphere. Today, the focus is, of course, the Buhara that is rattling the entire northern hemisphere. Of most recent, there have been, of course, power tussle, political dominance, and the quest for who controls who and who dethrones or displaces who. Just like what is happening in the Northwest, Kano has been agog for quite some years now due to the Emirate tussle, of course, and the political interests. All is all about interests and nothing more, not because for the very reason of serving their own people and delivering dividends of democracy or protecting the interests of the vulnerable masses. But this has to do with the interests, a very clear definition of what they represent. So we are going to look at the latest development as a plot to remove or unseat the Sultan of Sokoto, Thickens, and the Vice President, Shettima, has called that the governor of Sokoto State must jealously guide the Sultan of Sokoto from any harm of possible attack because it is looming. There is unrest, there is rift. As the rift between the governor and Sultan of Sokoto or the Emirates, of course, gets sour, it is now very incumbent on the president. They have been called even by the Muslim rights concerned that the attempt or plot by the governor of Sokoto State to unseat the Sultan could be resisted vehemently because Sultan is not just a traditional ruler but has a very vital role, of course, being the supreme leader of the Islamic movement in Nigeria. He should not in any way be dislodged or be dethroned from his position because he is serving the interests not just of the Sokoto, but the entire Nigerian state as far as Islamic religion is concerned. So this Buhara's and rattling between the governor, the politicians, and the traditional rulers, of course, has taken unusual dimensions. Of most recent, around April, the governor of Sokoto State dethroned more than how many 15 emirs or so. Now it has been speculated that he might, of course, descend on the Sultan of Sokoto because of the renewed acrimony or rift between them, which have gone sour. And the concerns people or group or society of the Muslim rights concern have called that the governor of Sokoto State must apply caution so that it will not degenerate to something, of course, they may not be able to control. The build-ups, of course, is very much high, though the governor has come to denounce or to debunk such allegations. Well, there are indications that there are still, of course, something piped up for the possible deterrent of the Emirates or the Alhaji Mohammed Said the third. Of course, there have been reactions that this is not just the first time the Sultan of Sokoto has been dethroned. It's not the first time. And there could be a repeat of history, of course. It's just a matter of time, how and when. It's just a function of time because with what is going on, people have envisaged the possibility of that happening in no distant time. Because if the governor can remove 15 Emirates councils members, then it means there's something fundamentally wrong. Possibly it will be some conflict of interest. And being the executive governor of the state, according to the Nigerian law, the traditional rulers, of course, has lost their right, uh, and they are now under the control or influence of the governors. You see, that customary or traditional right has been lost. So the governors can dethrone and of course enthrone anyone, provided their interest is not jeopardized. So I believe at this time there is fire on the mountain, just as the Kano State Emirate also has remained. There have been counter laws, judgments from different courts in favor and against. Of course, it's quite confusing. So, as it stands now in Kano State, we have two emirs and we have two kingdoms. We have two rulership within the Kano State Emirates, and these two giants are not backing down for anyone. They want to fight, of course, to finish. They must get it right. Prior to these times, the Emirates, the Emir of Kano, was the one in charge of all the traditional and religious rights within the Kano state. But upon assumption of office, the then governor of Kano State, Danguje, have to split the powers of the Emirates because of his political interests. And at this point, he has to dethrone the Emirates, Dubayaro, and of course, enthrone his own choice candidate, the former CBN governor, Sanisu Lamido. And eventually, he was disposed. And thereafter, no, yes, he was deposed. And when Danguje came on board, Danguje also used the opportunity to depose this current Emir Adubayaro. I mean, dethrone the favored candidate of Sanusi Lamido, who dethroned this current governor now, favored Danguje, and Danguje was fighting against Lamido because of his statements that the Al-Ramajiri system should be abolished and the North should be given the right opportunities to educate their younger ones so that they can, live a more honorable and dignified life rather than being backwards in everything. The North is backward in terms of education, economy, and development. Unfortunately, they have the lion's share of their allocation from the Federation account. So he, of course, that attracted enmity between him and Danguje. He was disposed and was sent on exile. But when the next governor assumes office, of course, the next governor have to take a pound of flesh, dethroning the one that was approved by Danguje, and eventually reinstating the same man who, according to findings, should be the right person to occupy such positions. Well, I'm not here to define who is right or who is not. But thereafter, of course, when the man came back, you know what happens? He was also dethroned, and then Sanusi now reinstated. This has been going off and on, and what is the very essence of all this is because of the control, the political interests underneath, of course, all these buhahas, and we understand that they should be responsible enough to sue for peace so that the Kano states who have enjoyed relative peace, of course, from the invasion of Boko Harams and banditry and all that, might not unfortunately resume that. So Sultan of Sokoto, there could be some distress, there could be some shaking, some panic. Nobody knows when the sledgehammer will be unleashed. But whatever happens, history has shown that this is not the first time the Sultan of Sokoto could be dethroned and another person enthroned. Well, whatever happens, we continue to watch if eventually history might repeat. And of course, that will define the way forward, just as the Vice President Shettima has, of course, called out for immediate needs concern over the security and safety of the Emirates Council, or the Emir or the Sultan himself should be jealously guided, which by implications, there are possibilities of him becoming a subject of attack, and of course by vested interests or those who are interested in that position. What does that mean? There could be a possible breakdown of law and order and the infiltration of the military groups, which already have been ravaging the entire northern hemisphere. Of course, Sokoto is not left out. So when this president or vice president said security, adequate securities should be provided for the Sultan of Sokoto, which I don't in any way disagree with him. Yes, by his status and positions, such could be done. But the concern, of course, I have over this statement is that, yes, Sultan of Sokoto represents a very strong interest and personality as far as the Muslim faithful is concerned, or Islamic religion is concerned. But I have never seen the Shettima calling for the protection of the citizens of the northern hemisphere. The killings have been sustained. The kidnapping of most recent in Borno State, that is the breaking news, of course. A judge was adopted. His wife and children was adopted in Borno State by the Islamic State of West African Province, or the Boko Haram. You know what that means. Of course, they have to judge him by their own standards and principles, or Islamic or Sharia law, or maybe Boko Haram law, whatever law they may have, of course, promulgated for the advancement of their own cause and the Islamic jihadist state. So it's quite unfortunate. I have expected Shettima, who has from Borno State, from the northeast, to have called for the protection of life and properties of the citizens of Nigeria within the Borno and its environs. But that is not coming from him. It's quite unfortunate. I had expected him to say, okay, because I'm the vice president, let all the IDPs within the northeast, let them return to their respective homes and continue their lives. But that is not coming from him, because he lacks the capacity. He has seen that even his government has failed to protect the life and property of his own people. So him calling for the protection of Sultan might not make any difference, because if Sultan must be protected, then the entire northern hemisphere must be protected as well. So if there is insecurity rocking the entire northern hemisphere, there could be a possible infiltration of the security beef up, of course, of this Emirate or the Caliphate, Sokoto Caliphate, because Whatever happens, whatever goes around comes around. So I pray he remains safe. But with this development and uncertainties and govern the entire atmosphere, there could be a possibility of anything happening. But whatever be the case, of course, only time will reveal who and who, of course, we are interested in the detriment of the Sultan and for whatever reason best known to them. Well, we may not, of course, understand the reason why, because the governor has come to say these are just mischief makers who are political opponents or enemies who may want to use such, of course, cheap news to discredit him. Well, only time will tell how true that is, and of course, how innocent he is regarding this. But whatever happens, the truth is that within the ambit of Nigerian law, does the governor has the right to dethrone or enthrone any traditional ruler in Nigeria? Yes, he has the rights recognized by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So the law empowers the governors to dethrone and enthrone, except such law will be altered or amended so that the traditional institutions could have an independent administration, independent existence, so that the governors could not have an overbearing influence on the traditional institutions, because it has been watered down, it has been bastardized. They have used it to reduce the reputations and dignity of the traditional institutions and what they represent. Now, because they are on the payroll of the government, of course, the government can detect the tune for them, because they said he who has the piper, of course, detects the tune. So because they have been in the payroll of the governors, of course, they are loyal to the governors. So whatever happens could be, of course, considered as, well, one of those things. But the concerns that have been raised by the Muslim Rights Concern Association is raising an early alarm that the governor of Sokoto should be careful how he handles such issue, because the entire Muslim faithfuls within Nigeria and across Sokoto and beyond might not necessarily accept such move. They might consider it as an affront, a slap to the entire Muslim, entire Islamic movement within the Nigerian state. What only time will tell how that goes down, and if eventually he might possibly, of course, refrain his actions if he may have such intentions. Whatever happens, my concern is, why are they fighting to dethrone and enthrone the Emirates system within the north? Is that the major concern of the northern, an average northerner today? An average northerner is insecure. An average northerner is impoverished. An average northerner has less privilege and opportunities. So why are they engaging more energy in fighting for their interest, personal interest? Who takes or controls the throne? Of course, we control the privileges or whatever that is coming to the states and region. Would that be the very reason why they should disrupt the public peace, and of course, and other, because these are raising concerns. Both parties or warring parties might go extreme in making sure that they scale through whatever be the case. But I hope they will sheathe the sword. There are more important issues that is begging for their attention. One of those issues is, why is it that the jihadists, just as the Sultan said, it will take several decades to subdue the Boko Haram, the bandits, which means he may have better knowledge about the existence or possibly the oppressions and what they stood for. That despite what the effort the government of Nigeria is making to dislodge them, they have come with an ideology, possibly that could be what he's saying, that you cannot kill this ideology because it had been inculcated in them, indoctrinated, and as such, you can't take that from them. So now, if the Sultan of Sokoto could have made such submission in line with Sheikh Gumi, who said that in the next 20 years, the Nigerian military cannot defeat the bandits, cannot defeat the Boko Haram, cannot defeat insurgency in the north, then it means there is something fundamentally wrong with the security system within the northern hemisphere. There could be vested interests, there could be some power brokers who are interested in whatever is going on, possibly to project their interests or their political interests or whatever interests they may not have disclosed before the public. It's quite unfortunate. If the Sultan of Sokoto is the supreme leader of the Islamic movement in Nigeria, and the Boko Harams and the Islamic State of West African province are claiming they are fighting for Islamic State by killing and dislodging their own people, even the militaries engaging the militaries in open fire, in confrontation, then why shouldn't Sultan wade in to talk to them? Because if they are fighting for the Islamic interests, as they claim, and the Sultan of Sokoto happens to be the supreme leader of the Islamic Council, wouldn't he have talked to them, said, well, this is not what we stand for, or possibly silence might be consent, and coming to tell us that these people cannot be subdued in the next 40 years, the next 20 years, which means they have come to stay. They will live on with that, as most of the Islamic or militias, armed groups, are recruiting more younger ones, of course, to join the wagon. So if the Sultan of Sokoto and other emirates cannot be able to curtail the excesses of these Islamic militias or jihadists who hide under whatever cover to unleash mayhem on their own people and disrupt the entire communal and economic space in the north, deepening the already worsened situation in the north. Even farmers can't go to farm. Of course, it seems that some people or persons are cashing out from whatever that is, of course, unsettling the entire northern hemisphere. Some people are using the opportunity to cash out in whatever disguise. So I expected the Sultan of Sokoto and, of course, Shettima, unfortunately, He had been accused for sponsoring Boko Haram, taking picture with them when he was the governor of Borno State, and he has now come out the, before the public to debunk such allegations. Well, to him, that would be just a mere distraction. He may not have time for that, but in the minds of millions, they are seeing him in the light of such uh, antecedents. Of course, during his time, the Chibok girls, over 300 Chibok girls, were adopted, and unfortunately, most of them may not have returned if that some are speculating that this is just an orchestrated plan to remove Jonathan from government. And eventually they succeeded in doing that. That is history. But then, have they solved the problem they intended to solve? Has peace returned after the Chibok girl saga? Of course, more people have been adopted, more victims, casualties on the high increase. So what does that tell you? If the Emirates or the northern political elites weren't in support of this, they would have sat down, they have in control of the region, and they, of course, claim that Islamic religion is predominant in the north. So why should they be fighting against themselves, destroying these innocent citizens or civilians of the northern extraction and other ethnic nationalities within the north? So I think it's incumbent on the Sultan, His Eminence, to look into that. Why is the north destabilized? Does it mean that some persons, of course, it had been confirmed, such allegations have been found to be true from the revelations and that is coming up, where some persons, even including the military, were found, and a serving senator or House of Representative conniving, backing the Boko Haram or sponsoring them to continue what they are doing, because they wouldn't have succeeded to such extent if there are no people within the corridor of power. Just as Jonathan admitted, he said that Boko Haram are in his cabinets. Boko Haram members or sympathizers or sponsors are in his cabinet before he left office. And today we are seeing the reality, the truth of that submissions is very much, of course, evidence today. Even evidence today. If the northern political class were not in support of all this Boko Haram or that, they would have, of course, sought a way to arrest it for long. But the very fact that they are still striving as presupposes there is something fundamentally, of course, wrong that they are not telling us. You cannot tell me that if they are loyal Muslims and they are fighting for Islamic or, of course, states, then the Sultan of Sokoto and other power brokers in the north will be able to talk to them and to sheathe the sword in the interest of all and sundry within the north. The failure to do this, of course, presupposes that will be something they are not telling us. But whether you say it or not, people will continue to watch and, of course, have their own minds to decipher what could have transpired that led to this point where the North find themselves. It is a very pitiable situation, a very sorry situation for that matter. When I watch Governor Zulum distributing some palliatives and, of course, to, to cushion the effects of these economic mishaps, and those displaced at the IDPs from their homes, in fact, I felt very sorry for the North, especially the vulnerable masses who who could not help themselves. The, the state of vulnerability is something unbearable. With their families, I saw children's, I saw their mothers, the daughters of the northern people in such distress. While you have billionaires from those regions, the likes of Dangote and what have you, and some former head of states who have made billions. One of them said that he has nothing to do with money. He don't know what to do with money again. Why is the entire north is lying in west? I don't know what to do with money. And it's quite unfortunate, but whatever happens, uh, whatever you sow, you reap. So I just wish that the northern population will rise up, wake up to the and embrace the truth. Not until they wake up to begin to hold their own governors, politicians accountable, they will continue to take them for a ride, use them and dump them, and extend their poverty and their sufferings. If you have empowered the people, if you have created enabling environment for your people to be meaningfully engaged, you can't be giving them indomie every time. The only thing you could do for them is to organize mass wedding. After mass wedding, what can they use to cater for the family? You're doing mass wedding for people who are not gainfully employed. So how do you expect them to survive? Of course, kidnapping, terrorism will strive if they consider that as the only way of survival. Unfortunately, most of them who are predominantly farmers cannot access their farm again. Even when they do, of course, they will be afraid of either being killed or kidnapped or a possible ransom on the way. And unfortunately, they are helpless. Even the governors have lost idea, have run out of idea on how uh, to solve this problem. Some have argued that this is a monster the northern people created for themselves, especially the northern politicians. But it has turned back against them. It has spilled out of control, or spiraled out of control that they could not handle it again. Those people they procured ammunitions of to help them rig the election. After the election is done and dusted, or whatever happens, of course, they will become mafias and constitute unrest within the region. So you have to wait for the next election to engage them again. Give them some hard drugs. I mean, give them some stipends. Let them go and kill anybody that will want to stand against your chances of winning. Because you know that once you win, there is much money involved. And that means, of course, a feast or celebration for your entire family and people within, of course, your cabinet or your cronies. It's quite unfortunate, but then we hope that they will sue for peace. We hope that the political elites within the northern hemisphere will reconsider their actions and, of course, be decisive enough and sincere enough to work for the common goods of an average northerner. Because you are building an army of resistance, an army of destruction, people who will catch up with you just a matter of time. Most people can't freely walk within the northern states again. Even Abuja is not safe. People are scared of staying late or waking up early. I was told that by 6 people, everybody is calling for safety, rushing home, because you never can tell. Even in the broad daylight, people have been adopted and kidnapped and all that. So it, it sends a wave of panic. And unfortunately, there are no security operatives. The few available ones may have been shared among the senators and high profile politicians. And whatever is left, of course, maybe engaging the Biafran Defense Force and Simon Ekpa trying to crush, crush them. While impunity is going on, ravaging the entire north, nobody is talking about that. Nobody is interested in about that. Does it mean that there are less human beings? Those who are killed, kidnapped, butchered. I saw one video where these dastard elements beheaded their victims one after the other. They were beheading, and they were so excited doing that. They were so happy doing that. I don't know. I don't know what kind of world we found ourselves. Even to the point that I saw a little child, he could be in his 6 or 7 years, also helping to cut an adult head, and was excited about that. Indoctrination. A demonic one for that matter. I said, wow, if this child at this tender age was not afraid, was not even scared of seeing blood, human blood, gushing out, the other was celebrating as people's heads were being chopped off. And he even added, he took knife and was cutting. I say, there is nothing that shows that we are one. Honestly. You see, you're young guys in their 20s. I mean, chopping off people's heads. It's quite unfortunate, but that is so sad that I was left with no option but to begin to think that the northern hemisphere may have lost it all. Who will deliver them from this? It will take a century or more for them to get out of this route, because it takes a decisive and committed leader to begin to reorientate, de-radicalize, and begin to project and inject a more superior ideology, which will take over time to build. It's quite unfortunate. Well, they have the responsibility to fix their region. If there's so much desire or to make it more restive for the very advantage or benefit they might derive from that. Of course, destroying their own ecosystem, destroying their own environment, and you can't attract any investor, you can't attract any meaningful development in the region. When you consider the enormous resources that have been expended in the northern hemisphere, if the same thing is replicated or the same amount is expended in the north, in the south would have advanced very well. More priorities, government after government, is being given to the north, pushing them to come up. At the end of the day, they end up not meeting up. They end up the same way. See, that Alamanjiri syndrome has been infused even in the minds and character of the governors or political elites. They prefer, of course, them queuing up early morning or lately, of course, late evening to come and collect saraka. Why the money you are sharing is what belongs to them. If they have been used to better the lots of the masses, you won't be talking of attacking the Sultan of Sokoto. You won't be jittering of a possible attack or whatever might happen to him. It's quite unfortunate. Well, let's watch as events continue to unfold. We'll keep abreast with the realities or the latest news regarding these very topical issues. Let's continue to watch as we follow up the next news in line. Thank you once again for watching. Don't forget to hit the like buttons here. What I'm saying is very discouraging. You could do better than this. Thank you. Don't leave this uh, platform without hitting the like buttons. It doesn't take any additional cost. It's just for the YouTube algorithm, of course, to push uh, this video to more wider views so that more people will get to understand. And of course, uh, reason with us and make their own contributions. What can we say about all these things? Where do we go from here? He said, hello, my brother. Okay, good morning from Chile. Wow, how is Chile today? How is America today? Anthony, is it Unaji? Thank you for tuning in. God bless you. On this note, of course, we'll wrap it up. Once again, thank you for watching and remain blessed. I remain Chigozende, the host anchor, bringing your way the unbiased reportage of events as see the hearts as they continue to unfold. Bye for now. Until the next edition.